Daniel Shalom,
Hey,
how are you doing?
great.
Baruch Hashem.
You really tricked me earlier today with your live stream that wasn't live.
It was whatchamacallit. It was an upload of a previous stream.
I know, but I was all excited about it, and I was like commenting, and I was getting no responses. I mean, my comments weren't that great, but
I didn't see any comments. Where'd you comment?
Random comments in the live chat.
You blanked on me for a second. In the what? No, I was looking at the chat. I didn't see you. There was a whole discussion going on in the chat.
I was there for a couple minutes, and then I found out it wasn't live, and I left. I was so upset.
Was it towards the end? I wasn't looking at towards the end. Yeah,
I think it goes in the. I don't know exactly.
Okay, it might still be going. I don't know. Okay, so I was thinking, let's start with the Gemara.
Start from the top.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because frankly, I don't remember it, and I looked at it very briefly. Did you chazer? Did you prepare?
Yeah, I know. I reviewed a little bit because it was really complicated, so I reviewed a little bit beforehand.
Where were we?
So the Mishnah
starts on ends on 2b, right?
So yeah, the Gemara starts on 2b. Yeah, correct.
Okay. The katana with regard. It's a lot easier when there's Surah Sadaf. Okay.
Sure it is.
Gemara.
Yeah. So reflecting back on the Mishnah was talking about the different the different things where we need three judges to litigate the case. Three judges. So the Mishnah starts by saying for items of dine mamanos, which is monetary law, you need three, and gzelos v'chavelos, you need three as well. So what the Gemara now is dealing with is trying to understand why, when we talk about gazelos and chavalos, which means like stealing and damaging someone, why doesn't that fall into the category of dine mamanos, of monetary law? So the Gemara says, other gazelos and chavalos lav dine mamanos isn't stealing and damaging, doesn't that fall into that general category? So Amar Rabavo Mahin Katani. So what Ravo explains that the Mishnah is trying to give a descriptor to the first sentence of saying that it's basically all under the umbrella of Dine Mamanos. So Dine Mamanos, Gazelos v'Chavelos, Avohados v'Avos lo. That which type of Dine Mamanos are we referring to? Which type of monetary law? We're specifically talking about theft and damages, but in terms of loans, that's not included here.
Yeah.
So then the Gemara continues and says, "V'tzricha," and you had to do it this way. You had to say dine mamanos, monetary law, and then explain and then explain that we're talking specifically about damages and stealing. Why? Because the itana dine mamanos. Because if you just would have said dine mamanos, the monetary cases, hava mina da filo hadas v'avos. You would have thought also. You would have thought this even includes the loans. Tana gazelos v'chavelos. So therefore, it says gazelos v'chavelos. But so then the Mishnah then asks the opposite way, because v'itana gazelos v'chavelos. What if it just said the stealing and the damages? The lo katana dini mamanos, and it doesn't include dini mamanos. It didn't include the monetary law. Hava mina, you may have thought hu hadin da filu hadas avos. You would have thought that also that it should include gazelos v'chavelos. Behind the gazelos v'chavelos, mishum de ikir gimel, tiksiv gazelos v'chavelos. And the reason why it specifically chose Gazelos Chavalos is because the pasuk, the original verse about the requirement to have 3 people, is said by theft and by damages. So you would have thought that's why the Mishnah specifies that, but really it also includes loans as well.
Right.
Right. And then the Gemara brings the pasuk Tichsiv v'nikra of Baal Habayis Elohim, that in the case of stealing, they come to the judge. That case,
to the judges, I mean, it literally says to the gods, but to the judges.
Correct. So chavalas mali chavabufo mali chavamono. Wait, was that another point here? Wait a second. Chavalas mali chavamono. Chavalas mali chavabufo. All right. So you would have said to yourself, what's the difference between Chavavufo and Chavamamono? It all should be so sorry. So Mahin Dine Mamanos. So therefore it says, which Dine Mamanos are we talking about? Specifically Gazelos v'Chavalos, Abohados v'Hablos lo. So the Gemara is telling us why we needed to have it this way, where if you just would have said Dine Mamanos, you would have thought it includes loans. And if you just would have said Gazelos Chavalos, you would have thought it includes loans. Therefore, it has to say both, and to say that the theft and the damages are a descriptor of the cases of monetary law that we're speaking about, and we're not including loan disputes. That's the key point here.
I have bad news for you.
Sure.
Rashi seems to be taking this in a very different way.
Why? What does he say?
So, V'nikra Baal Habayit El HaElohim, Midechtiv B'Parsha Elohim Gimel Zimni Nafkalan Deba'inan Shlosha, V'hai Kra Kativ B'Shomer Chinam, V'zeh To'ano Sheshalach Yad B'Pikdono the Hainu Gazelot.
Mm-hmm.
So he's saying that the reason they bring the reason they bring the pasuk is because there are, it mentions Elohim 3 times, and that's how we learn that there's three
judges, right?
3 judges,
right? But if it just would have said what the Gemara is saying, if it just would have said issues of theft, you would have said that the reason why it picks that specific case of theft as the example of 3 judges is because that's where the verse states it. But it also should include loans disputes as well.
Right.
That's why
you would think your Havamina would have been that it mentions it. So, but how does that work with what you call it, Chavelas?
Well, we're not really. Oh, you're saying because Chavelas,
if you're going to tell me that it
right
that
it's only saying what's the main thing, then why wouldn't Chavelas? It should also. How do you explain Chavelas? Okay, that's a good question.
How do you? Yeah,
that's a good question. Right.
Right. So how, okay, let's read the Rashi. Mali chevel b'mamono, memashma begufo bechlal, memashma shene'amar, shlosha bechovel b'mamono, af chovel begufo bechlal hilkach behanami kativ ve'i Lotana dine mamonot. Habe amina hinach b'shum the begavehud katav nakat lahu.
Oh,
olam hu hadin.
That's what the Gemara. So the Gemara is addressing your point. Okay, I didn't realize that's what the Gemara is addressing.
Yeah, ledine mamonot. Yeah.
So when the Gemara says Chaval is Mali Chalvuho, Mali Chalvumono, it's addressing your question of that they're both considered the primary source for three judges. Because what's the difference
Right.
if you damage someone with their body or with their or you damage them with the money in terms of stealing?
And since you learn chavalas from what you can call it, since you learn chavalas from gazelot, then you would think it's by all dinei mamonos.
Correct. So you would meaning since we're only picking this, we're only picking stealing and damages because that's where the primary source of three is. You would say, why not just apply it to all dinei mamonos, all laws, even loan disputes?
Right. So we have four categories of dinei mamonot, and the Mishnah says dinei mamonot and then mentions gazelot and chavelot. The Gemara asks, okay, why does it need to specify two of them? It could have just left it with dinei mamonot. So it explains that to exclude hodaot halvaot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it asks, but wouldn't it have been shorter just for it to teach regarding just either have said gazelot or chavelot, or had said, but that wouldn't have worked. Right. Why? Because we learned the ikar hadin from gazelot, which has 3 times it talks about El HaElohim, and it has to tell us about what you call it. My brain is chabalot, because I would have thought that
you would have thought that it's only specifying the chavalot and the xelos just in order to also teach you that this is the primary source of the three, meaning the primary source of three judges is here. But really, the Mishnah is not trying to limit us to just constrict us to just those two cases. It really applies to all dinei mamonos.
Yeah, but
including loan disputes. So
detailing it tells us no. Dinei mamonot, only these two.
Correct, exactly. So it covers all our bases, basically.
Right.
And this is actually a great. We're still Chazi's here, so we'd say hi to Chazi. Hi, Chazi. Good to see you. This is also just a great, I think, starting Gemara, since we're hopefully trying to show how the Gemara works here. This is a classic. Why do we need to say two things? Why couldn't we just say one? And it almost seems meaningless in a sense. But it almost seems meaningless, like we're going back and forth just to understand what the Mishnah had in mind, and it's amazing how detailed everything gets.
It's didactic. I mean, the whole point, and this is why I keep on telling people that when you learn Talmud, you're learning a hermeneutic.
Yeah.
You're learning Talmud Torah. You're learning how to learn.
Yeah.
Right? It's not so much the particular details of that one sugya. Yeah. You learn how to learn, and then you know how to interact with any halacha.
Yeah, and in a way, I never thought about it this way, but in a way, this is why Gemara is so inaccessible, because it's even inaccessible to people who are really learned in it. It's so difficult, and it's so complex, and it's so hard to hold all the steps in your mind. Anyhow, that's just what I'm thinking about. Okay, so let's keep going here. Ulamai. So now the Gemara is going to talk about a question of, okay, so we understand we're excluding loan disputes, but ulamai. But why are we doing that? If you're going to tell me that we don't need to have three judges, right? Which would obviously help us. That would make sense. Why the Mishnah is excluding it? V'amar Ravavo, Shnayim shedanu dinei mamonos, l'divrei hakol ein dinerhem din. That if two people judge a case, according to Ravo, that are and he's obviously talking about loan disputes, Ein dinayim din. We don't consider it a good judgment. So it sounds like from here, from Ravo, we do need to have 3. So Ella, so the Gemara responds. It says, "Delo be'inan mumchem." Really, we do need 3 people. And the Mishnah was not trying to say we don't need 3. The Mishnah was trying to say you don't need mumchem, which means you don't need, I guess, trained rabbis or people who are smuch, people who had smicha or some kind of centralized certification, let's call it.
Yeah. So I mean, the way B'tei Dinim work is you can have 1 dayan and 2 smuchim, or you can have 3 actual dayanim.
Right. Got it. Okay. So then the Gemara continues. Micah Savar. So Ikasavar Irav Parshios Kasiv Kan Libai Nami Munchim. So I looked into this a little bit beforehand. I still don't understand if there's a really long Rashi on this that goes into a lot of details that I wasn't able to understand. But my basic understanding of it is Irav Parshios is referring to, hi Rabbi, welcome. Good to see you. Irav Parshios is referring to basically in Parshas Mishpatim, there are all these laws of these cases. Shomer Chinam, Gzela, all those things are in Parshas Mishpatim, and there's a debate whether or not you can take, let's just say, something from Hilchos Shomer Chinam over to Hilchos Gzela, let's just say. And I'm kind of making up an example because I don't actually know all the details of it. So if you believe you can make this go from one halacha to the other and make these extrapolation, then what does it say? Then kasav kan lebayin mumchim. Then we should need mumchim here, right? But v'ikasavar ein erev parshios. But if you believe that we don't make that connection, then kasav kan shlosha lamali. Then why do we need 3 at all? Right? So, meaning before this step, we're settling on the fact that we need to have 3, but it does not need to have.
I think it's asking why in the Mishnah, right? Yeah. So it says Dine Mamanos B'Shlosha, Gezelot V'Chavelot B'Shlosha, right? So it could have said Dine Mamonot B'Shlosha, Gezelot V'Chavelot, and then Ben Mamshech. Why does it need to say B'Shlosha? I think that's what it's asking.
Wait a second. No, because we knew it definitely has to have 3. Meaning we definitely have to state that there's 3, right?
A second time?
Oh, you're saying, where does it say it's
in the Mishnah?
Oh, you're saying that Oh, interesting. But that's just the way the Mishnah is going. The whole Tanakama, even the next sentence is about. It says it a few times. I don't know. I don't think that's what the Gemara is dealing with here. I think it's dealing with how do you know? Meaning we established that it could be 3 judges that are
by Hoda'ot and Halvaot. What's it saying? Because by them you also need 3.
Correct. That's what that's the challenge right over here. That's what's going on here. I think is that meaning before this step of the Gemara, what we're establishing is that okay, loan disputes you need 3 non-professional judges, right? That's acceptable. But the Gemara then says, well, if that's true, how did you get to there? Because if you believe in Eruv Parshios, which is making this connection between the cases, then you definitely should require to have 3 that are mumchim, that are like certified. But if you don't believe in it, then you shouldn't need 3 at all. So it's sort of getting at the source here, saying something doesn't make sense. Meaning it's establishing as that it's basically it's bringing a new idea here that Eruv Parshios, this idea of being able to tie in from other cases where 3 are needed. It's bringing that in as basically the determining factor of whether or not we need 3 mumchim. Hi, Gavin. Welcome. Good to see you. Sorry, I'm just the MC here, Jacob. I apologize.
Let's do the Rashi.
That long Rashi?
Yeah.
I'm scared of it.
Dude, I wanted to do all the Mefarshim. You're like, no, Rashi Tosfos. Now he doesn't even want to do Rashi.
Let's do it. Okay. Ikasavar Irav Parshios Ksivkan. Ikalaman de Amar Bagozel Eitzim. Shaparshios Haksuvas Be'elav Mishpatim Murever that the parshios that are in the psukim in Parshas Mishpatim, they're mureves, which literally means like responsible. Like they're, how do you say it? What's a better English word for mureves? Like
responsive. They're
correct.
Yeah. They're
Mureves saying sheyesh mikra kasav Parsha Zu she'ena yachol lamud ba'el Parsha acheres. That there are things that it says it in this pasuk that it says something in one verse that you could only figure out if you rely on the other verse. Okay. Kagon, so it says Asher Yomar Kihuzeh. So now we have to pull up the pasuk here. It's a pasuk in
Shemot
chapter 22, and we learned the Alfina Mine Modo B'Mixas. We learned from there Modo Mixas Hatayna Yishava.
Okay, so let's.
I mean, actually, if you pull up the Rashi, then it'll be easy to just pull up the source. I assume. We might need the rabbi to come in and help us with the Rashi. I'm just saying.
Commentary, Rashi.
Here, that's the.
That's Shemot.
No, when you click on it, it doesn't take you to the pasuk.
Not the specific pasuk. It takes you to.
No, it does. Oh no! Oh, you're right. It takes you to the parak. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is about the stealing.
Kihuzeh. Asher Yamar Kagon Asher Yamar Kihuzeh. Where do you see Kihuzeh in this?
I think you have to keep going down. It's probably a long. Keep going. Let's see. About damages, probably not this. No. Probably gonna be about like probably the next. Let's see the next one. No. Kihuzeh. So what's the pasuk say?
I'll call divrei pesha al shor al chamor al se al salma al kol aveda asher yomar ki hu zeh ad ha'elohim yavo devar shnehem asher yashiun Elohim yishalem shnayim l're'ehu.
So wait, so this is talking about like a shomer chinam. Sounds like. So this is how do you translate a shomer chinam? Like unpaid watchman, right?
What?
An unpaid watchman, right? I guess that's how you translate it. So if he says, this is it, the cause of the both parties shall come before the judges, and whom the judges shall condemn, he shall pay double to his neighbor. So what does this mean, simply speaking? Asher Yomar Kihuzeh.
So on anything, right? And the Torah itself says, Al kol aveda asher yomar kihuzeh. This is the thing, right? You can pick it up. You're like, it's a tangible object. Kihuzeh, right?
Who says that? Who says kihuzeh? Who's talking?
I think the one who's tovea. No,
because like, he's getting accused. The shomer is getting accused that he stole it. It sounds like.
So he could say, "Here it is."
Okay.
Right.
Because Rashi says here, and I'm trying to like cheat and figure it out. Rashi says the alfina mine moda b'mixas. We learned from here moda b'mixas, which means
moda b'mixas. You couldn't say kihuzeh, right? Moda b'mixas is, for example, like, let's give an example. I ask you to I ask you to what you call it to watch my dog, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And then you tell me your dog ran away,
Right.
right? How can you be moda b'mixas? Like it's not a talit that you would say, it's half mine, half his, right? So I think that's what he's saying. He's saying you couldn't you ki huzeh, like that does the alfinan mine moda b'mixas hatana yishba hat hatana ta'ane yishba chulu shktav b'shomer chinam lav hashomer chinam koi the shomer the shomrin afal pi shelo hodu b'mixas chayavim lishva hoda kesef tove hoda b'mixas והיא לא מודה כלום חזקה אם טענת התובע אמת, לא היה יכול זה להעיז פניו נגדו, ולומר לא הלוותני הלקח אפילו שבוע לא בוי, אבל בפיקדון דליקה גמלות חסדים מעיז פניו וכופר הכל.
I'm looking here at the art scroll over here. I'm looking at the art scroll, and it's explaining that let me just read it here. It says the simple meaning of the clause is that he, the witness, will say that ashki huzeh, that this, meaning the witness comes in and says this is the thing that he claims was stolen. He actually has it in his hand, right? Ki huzeh. That's the simple meaning of the verse. But what the Gemara does with that is that it teaches an additional meaning talking about modo mixas, which is a separate thing. So it's confusing because this is what mu'urav means here, right? So the kihuzeh in the pasuk is just referring to when the witness actually says that the thing that the unpaid watchman is claiming was stolen actually wasn't stolen, right? But Chazal learn another thing from the pasuk, which is that what do you call it? They learned from this modu mixas that just the concept in general modu mixas. So it's not relevant to this pasuk itself, is what I'm understanding. Does that make sense?
I mean, as I'm reading Rashi,
yeah,
he's saying when you have he says when you have shomer chinam, right? Then if he's kofer hakol, right?
Yeah.
He says I never agreed to watch your dog at all, right?
Yeah.
By then, you still make him swear, because you say that in such a case, a person can be would have the azut panim to be to be kofer hakol,
right?
But when it comes to halbaot, if he's kofer hakol, you say that it's not possible that he would be so azpanim, that he would be such a chutzpaniak, right? So you only require him to swear if he's moda b'mixas. That's what it sounds like Rashi saying.
I'll recall the leka gemilos chasadim me'ez panim v'kofer hakol u'ba'yishvua.
But isn't it Shomer Chinam that has Gemulat Chasadim? let me try reading Rashi from the beginning and see
Go
if
for it.
okay. Ikasavar eruv parshiot katev kan the ika laman the amar behagozel eitzim shahaparshiot katuvot be'ela hamishpatim me'urvavot. So um, we have an opinion in Baba Kama that says these parshiot are written mixed together. Hen sheyesh mikra katu beparsha zu she'eno yechol la'amod ba ela meparsha acheret. That there are things that you cannot really truly understand except by including the other parts of the Torah that are written near it. Hu kagon asher yamar ki huze. Like, for example, this example that we have of he says ki huze, this is it. The alfinan minei mode b'mikta. That we learn from this the rule of someone who asks who admits a part of the hatana of the
Right. So Moda Mixas Atana Yeshava. So when someone is Moda Mixas, then he has to then swear.
He has to swear.
As opposed to if he denied it altogether, he wouldn't need to swear.
Right. Chul. Shekatav b'shomer chinam lav hashomer chinam koi. Shekatav b'shomer chinam.
Right. So even though it says this about a shomer chinam, it's not actually applicable to a shomer.
It's not applicable.
Right.
The shomrin afa pi shelo hodu b'miktzat chayavim l'shava. They always have to. A shomer always has to swear.
Right.
The hoda miksat hatana a parshat the im kesef tilve koi, that it's only going on where it's talking about if you
okay, lending. So it's only talking about lending. That's what the puzzle by Shomer Chinam is only applicable to lending, about ki huzeh, which is referring to modo mixas.
Right. The hatam hu the ba'inan hoda. That's where we require that the person at least say admit a little bit of it. Hoda b'mixat ve'i lo mode klum chazaka im ta'anat hatovea emet lo haya yachol ze lahaiz panav negdo. That what we say by a loan, that if he truly had borrowed the money, right? He wouldn't have the thing to say, oh, he didn't let me anything at all. Right? That's too much chutzpah. Right? Because he did it in my kindness, right?
Right.
Negdo. Velomar lo halveti hilkach the hilvetani to say he didn't lend me anything. Hilkach achilu shua lo boy, that he's not even required to think. Aval bepikadon the leka gamulut chasadem, right? That since he didn't receive any sort of mercy from this guy in this, Malis panav v'kofer hako, that he's going to be audacious and deny the entire thing. Uboy shvua, and you have to make him swear regardless. V'hai tana the matnitin, right? And that person who's teaching our Mishnah, isvira le nami the high asher ya'amar, that it has to be the teacher of this Mishnah who also thinks who said this, Yamar ki hu ze bahalva mishit
Hari Nemar Elohim b'Haikra Dimashma Mumkum Lashon Sra v'Rabanos. Wait a second. So so if he if our Mishnah thinks in
Oh,
this manner,
so Rashi's asking on the Tana Matnidan. He's like, okay, so we have there, right, in Baba Kama, we have somebody else who teaches. But what about our Tana, the one who taught our Mishnah?
no. So I think he's just explaining at this point now. Right, meaning we have to remember what the issue of the Gemara is here. The issue that we're talking about is if we're saying that we don't need mumchim, well, that doesn't work if you believe that we do make the connection from Shomer Chinam where it applies specifically to Hava, right? Where, okay, so maybe there's one other point here. Meaning Rashi's focused on connecting Shomer Chinam to Halva, and specifically in this regard of Modeh Umixas, right? But I guess you should also make the connection in terms of having three judges that are Mumchim, right? I think that's the idea here.
I think the idea is that because it is so complicated that you have the mixing of the parshias in the Torah, that's why it requires mumchim. It seemed. I think.
Oh, no, that's not how I'm understanding it. But let's finish. Let's finish that, Rashi. So, keep going. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I don't understand that word mishtoi.
Okay, so mishtoi. So it means. Let me read it for the V'haytana demas nisan isvar leinami the high asher kiyam huzeh b'halva mishtoi. If he is saying that Yomar ki huzeh is referring to halva, but shtai means like to learn, that he learns like that way.
Oh, okay.
Hari nemar Elokim b'haykra demashma mumchim. So therefore, in that pasuk, it also talks about judges, because I think if you it says
it talks. It does
right.
talk about judges in Kihuzeh, right? Ad Elohim Yavo Davar Shneim,
which is mashma mumchim lashon shvara v'rabbanis, because I guess you don't use that lashon of Elohim if you're not talking about real judges,
right?
Ketargaminan ra nesatich Elohim leparo lashon rabbanis v'libai mumchim, and therefore you need mumchim. Okay, so Rashi is saying that if you believe in Eruv, however you call that, Kihuzeh is referencing Halva in terms of Modeh Mixas, then you could also extrapolate from there that you need Mumchim because that same verse says Elohim right afterwards. Jacob, we slayed the beast.
The beast. Okay, let's go back to the Gemara.
Yeah.
The Divra Kol Ein Dinehem Din Ella Deloba Inan Mumchim My Kasavar Iru Parshiot Katuv Khan Liboy Nami Mumchim Ve'i Kasavar Ein Iru Parshiot Katuv Khan Shlosha.
Khan Shlosha Lamali. Why would I need three here?
Le'olam Kasavar Iru Parshiot. Everyone agrees that there is Iru Parshiot. Katuv Khan Uvedin Hu the Liboy Nami Mumchim.
Right. So really, we do need mumchim. It's saying at least as like mikir adin, like pashup shot. We need to have mumchim, right?
V'hai de labain and mumchim mishum de Rabbi Chanina. The Amar Rabbi Chanina devar Torah echad dinei mamanot ve'echad dinei nafashot v'drisha v'chikira. Shneimar mishpat echad yihyeh lachem. Umatam amru dinei mamanot lo ba'inan drisha v'chakira kedei shelo tin ol delet bifnei lavin.
Mm.
Elam ata tau lo yishalmu kol sheken ata noel delet bifnei lavin. Ihachi tarte katani dine mamanot b'shlosha hediotot gezelot v'chavelot b'shlosha.
Are you going too fast?
I'm just wondering where the sugya ends.
It ends and it doesn't ever end. It just keeps going.
This is a very long sugya. Gezelot v'chavelot
There's two
b'shlosha.
dots in like a few lines.
What?
There's two dots in like 10, 12 lines from now.
Okay, but the sugya here, not you don't have. It doesn't have to be all the way. Maybe we should read. Well, at least hold on. Mishalman koshken at noel delet bifnei lavin. Ihachi tarte katani dine mamnot b'shlosha hediotot gezelot v'chavelot b'shlosha mumchen. Ve'od shlosha lama li ela amar Rava tarte katani. Mishum the Rabbi Chanina Rav Acha Bare the Rav Ika Amar Mida Oraita Chad Nami Kasher Shneimar Betzedek Tishbot Imahem Ela Mishum Yoshvei Kranot Atu Betalta Mi Lo Have Yoshvei Kranot Efshar the late Bahu Chad the Gamir Ela Me'ata Tau Lo Yishalmu. Koshikan the Nifshi.
So let's go back. Let's go back to.
I think it does go all the way. It seems like it's all one sugya.
It's undefeated. Doesn't give up.
Yoshred Kranot, my ika bain Rabba Larav, Acha Baredor. The Amar Shmo Shnaim Shadanu Dinehem Din Ela Shanekrobet Din Chatzuf. Shmo. So it seems, well, I mean, it's so long because there's three opinions here. And according to, so there are three different opinions, but all of them come out to the point that Me'ikar Hadin, you only need one. But
no. Starting from, so he says from the previous page, it says Rabbi Chanina says really you need to have three with Drisha and Chakira, right? Meaning you have to do like cross-examination, even for cases of life and death, but also cases of loan dispute.
Two different things. Don't confuse Drisha Chakira with how many what you
right, but it's the highest level, right? It's the highest level, meaning for sure you need three judges, mumchem, if you're gonna say you need Drisha Chakira. You need to cross-examine the witnesses. And that's why.
But Dine Nafesh is not three. You have to have a Sanhedrin Katana at least for.
Right. But I'm saying, let's see what it says. It says Shenemar Mishpat Echad Yelachem. There's one way to judge basically. Mamanos kinafashas, Rashi says, right? Money is like nefashas. It's the same, applies to Dini Mamanas as well. Okay? So Matam Amru Dini Mamanas lo b'din Drisha Chakira. But why do we say that Mamanas does not need Drisha Chakira, does not need a cross-examination? Because we don't want to close the door for people to give loans. Because if we had to do a cross-examination every single time someone wanted to lend someone $150, no one's going to start lending that money. It's just going to be too complicated. Right? So let's see that Rashi says Shlotin al Deles Shimanu Malavos Shema Yefker Reidim YouTube Lotin Lezim Yazid V'Hachanami Shema Lo Yumatzi Mumchim Lekofel Ledin. So Rashi's saying it's the same. You could use that logic to explain why you don't need 3 mumchim. Because in the same way, we don't want to have cross-examinations. We also don't want to have to require to have 3 specialized judges just to have a loan take place.
No, Rashi's saying no. So shalotin ol delet sheyishma mehalvaot shema yikfor ha'edim yit'u v'lo tehe edotan mechuvenet v'yafsid v'hachanami shema lo yimtza mumchem lekofo ledin. What he's saying is it's possible that people won't give loans because they're afraid that when they're asking the they're asking the Adim, they're asking the witnesses questions, they're going to make a mistake, and it's going to appear like one doesn't.
Right. They're not on the same page, right, about the loan.
Right,
yeah.
and the person's not going to get his money.
Right.
So the hatanami shma lo yimtza mumchen lekofoladin, right? And we could also have the situation where people can't find 3
mumchim, correct?
Mumchim, which would also make them not want to give.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So in the same way we're being lax, so to speak, and being lenient, we're also going to be lenient for requiring mumchim.
Yeah.
Do you want to continue, or do you want to stop here? I don't know how much time you have.
I have time. I have plenty of time. I don't know how much time you have. Okay.
I don't know. We can try to finish to that.
Yeah. So let's get back into the Gemara.
Okay. So Elameata to lo yishalmu. So now the Gemara is going to bring up a different issue. If we're not dealing with mumchim and we're not dealing with professionals anymore, then what if the judge makes a mistake and then he doesn't need to take accountability for it, right? There's no accountability if you're not a professional, I guess is what it's saying. Kol shekein ata noel delos with elavim. So you're definitely going to ruin the spirit of making sure people are, feel like it's easy to give loans to people, right? If you start having these unprofessional judges, then people are going to make mistakes and they're not going to take responsibility for it. Let's see if Rashi, I don't know if Rashi says what I'm saying, if it makes sense. Elamiatato, hediotos b'dini mamonus lo yishalmu, the kaven de bereshus rabbanan kai, kaven de bereshus rabbanan kad kanach. I have no idea what that word is. Nachti? What is that?
Natati. Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah. I have no idea what that word means. Havale kemumchem v'lo chol mumcha lebezdin im ta pater milashalim kitagon echadin inavad hu she'ino mumcha chayiv. Im ta pater milashalim.
So he's saying that if a mumcha makes a mistake, he doesn't have to pay. If a hediot makes a mistake, he does have to pay? Yeah. Ha she'eino mumcha chayav.
Oh. But I'm
gonna cheat and read the art scroll. I'm
doing the same.
Ela ma'ata shenatnu chachamim reshut lahediot ladun bedinei halvaot, harei shegam im tau בפסק דינם, וגרמו הפסד לצד אחד, לא ישלמו על ההפסד שגרמו, שכיוון שדנו ברשות חכמים, דינם כדיינים מומחים, ודיינים מומחים שטעו פטור מלשלם. לכמן יתברר שדיין מומחה שטעה פטור מלשלם, ומסתבר שהטעם הוא משום שקיבל רשות לדון, ומאחר שבהודעות והלוואות נתנו חכמים גם להדיוט רשות לדון, גם הם צריכים להיות פטורים מלשלם, אם טעו. רש"י, אבל ראה תוספות כאן, ורש"י לקמן. But Rashi is saying chayav. Ela ma'atato.
Give the rishos rabbanon cut. Oh, so I read it wrong. Oh, okay. I think I understand what it's saying now. It's Elamayata to lo yushalmu. If that's the case, then if we're going to use these non-ordained judges, then when they make a mistake, they shouldn't need to pay. Because the only time a judge needs to... because... Let's read Rashi again now. Elamiyata hediotos b'dinin b'mamdas lo yishalmu. They don't pay. The kaven de b'rishus rabbanan kanachti havelo kemumcha. But since now the rabbis are giving authority to these judges who are not mumchim, they should be once the case is now in their jurisdiction they were given that power by the rabbis, then it should be considered like a regular judge. Basically, Rashi's saying, so why aren't these judges exempt from paying? Just like a typical judge, let's call it, like a judge that's a regular mumcha. So then the Gemara says back to that, because we could, so we can't have it both ways, the Gemara is saying, right? If the rabbis are going to allow these judges to litigate loan cases, loan disputes and loan cases, they're not also going to give them the authority that maybe, I guess it's like judges that are biblically positioned or biblically appointed, right? Meaning, so even though they're as if they're considered like a mumcha, they are this very high level judge. There's a limitation the rabbis still put in place because they don't want to discourage people from giving out loans. So therefore, when a non-certified judge makes a mistake, he is now obligated to pay and actually, cough up the money that whether he messed up the lender or the borrower. Okay. So that is, I think that ends. Let's see, what's the next piece here? Does it continue? Ihachi tarti katani. So if we're saying we need 3, Ihachi tarti katani. So Rashi says Ihachi devadas avo shlosha binan lamalei l'Rabbi Avo l'ukma l'masnisan bama hein katani. Tarki katani matzi l'meimar dini mamanus d'haini hados v'avos b'shlosha kol dehu v'gazeos v'chavelos b'gimel mumchim u'mishum dechalukim b'dineim lo chalil b'chad klala. Matzi l'meimar dini mamanus d'hainu hados v'avos b'shlosha kol dehu b'shlosha kol dehu. Oh, kol dehu means like any type of 3. Matzi l'meimar dini mamanus d'hainu hados b'shlosha kol dehu v'gazeos v'chavelos b'gimel mumchim u'mishum dechalukim b'dineim lo. Oh, okay. So now it's going back and kind of undermining everything we've said till now. Because basically we left off by saying that I think I'm understanding this. We left off by saying that we have dini mamanus and gazelos and clavelos that describe what dini mamanus is, right? And why do we have to do this? Because at least originally we thought that either dini mamanus havalos don't need 3 or havalos don't need mumchim. But what the Gemara is saying now, I think, is that now that we established that dini mamanus does need 3,
Right.
then you could say that you could read the Mishnah differently. You could say dini mamanus is referring to havas, which is a loan dispute, and when it says 3, it means any 3 judges. And when it says chavelos, it's and this actually kind of touches on your question you alluded to, which is why does it have to break it up into different groups, right? Why can't you just say dini mamanus and then just say shlosha once? I think Rashi is picking up on that here, and he's saying that yes, that's kind of the question the Gemara has here is it should be dini mamanus shlosha, which is any 3 judges, and gazelos and chavelos is specifically 3 judges that are mumchim. I think so.
Yeah, Rashi says that.
Right. Oh, and now there's another question, V'od?
He says, "Ichada katani lama limitnin trey zimne shlosha."
Oh, Ichada katani lama limitnin trey zimne shlosha. Hachi by limitnin dini mamanus shehein gazelas v'chavelos begimel. Tarki katani devada gimel b'inan the ear parshas siv kan umiyu b'hadiot asagi mishum derechnin v'achgamar dini mamanus. Okay, let's go back to the Gemara because I'm a little confused here. Iachi tarti katani. Let's dini mamanus b'shlosha hediotos gazelos v'chavelos b'shlosha mumchim. So dini mamanus b'shlosha hediotos. Oh. Gazelos and chavelos b'shlosha mumchim. That's how he could have explained the Mishnah. Why couldn't we explain that originally?
Explain what?
Meaning, why is the Gemara only coming up with this now? That Ravo could have said. Now that we established all this information, what? I'm just trying to understand why it's only at this point where we're able to make this case that he could have read the Mishnah differently, of saying dini mamanus shlosha hediotos, meaning any kind of judge, and then
because now we're saying that even by hodalot v'holvalot you need 3.
But didn't we say that we didn't establish that earlier already? You're saying that was all like we didn't like firmly establish it. It was only now we firmly established it. That's the case, I guess.
That's I mean, okay, so hold on. Because I'm in Erev Parshia Katuv Khan, Kasar Erev Parshia Katuv Khan, Uvedinhu, the boy Nami Mumchem. Vahad Allah Ba'inan Mumchem, Meshum the Rabbi Chanina, Damar Rabbi Chanina. So we're within this question of we're asking why we need we're still in that whole question of ulamai, right?
Right.
So, right, we're still the nikra no Tana ma hen dine mamanot gazelot.
I didn't realize earlier on the first case. I didn't realize Rav Avo. This is not our first mention of Rav Avo. He was the one who said that they're an explanation of each other. That makes more sense now. I didn't realize that. I'm not sure if you caught that. I didn't catch that myself. That meaning in the first two lines of the Gemara asked the question. He's the one who says they're describing each other. Meaning that whole long description was from him. Now it makes sense as to why we're questioning it now. Now that we established all this, now we're questioning why he couldn't have used a different interpretation. Why did he? If we're now I think I understand it a little bit better.
I think we have to go back to the very beginning of the Gemara. Let's try reading again from the beginning of the Gemara. Ninhu, right? So aren't gazelot and chavelot mamonot? Amar Rababahu mahen ktani, mahen dine mamonot gazelot chavelot, aval hodaot v'halvaot lo. Right?
So what is dine mamonos? Gazelot and not loan disputes.
V'tzricha the tana dine mamonot have amina da afilu hodaot v'halvaot. Tana gazelot v'chavelot, ve'i tana gazelot v'chavelot, ve'i tana gazelot v'chavelot, v'la katani dine mamonot, hava amina hu hadin da'afilu hodaot v'halvaot, v'hai the katani gazelot v'chavelot, meshum the ikar shlosha d'chtive begazelot v'chavelot, kativi, gazelot d'chtiv v'nikra bal habayit el ha'elohim, chavelot mali chavel begufo, mali chavel b'mamono.
And it has to explain it obviously because once if we were able to say loan disputes at the base, then obviously we'd be able to learn gazelos and chavelos because loan disputes are obviously at a much lower level. So that's why the Gemara has to explain why we chose specifically to use gazelos and chavelos, even instead of using halvos. Right? Does that make sense? What I just said?
I think so. Yeah. Tana mahen dine mamonot gazelot v'chavelot, aval hodaot v'halvaot lo. Lama ilema delo ba'inan shlosha. And why is this? Ilema delo ba'inan shlosha v'haomer v'ha'amar Rabbi Abahu shnayim shedanu dine mamonot l'divra kol ein dinehem din ela delo ba'inan mumchem. My kasavar, iruv parshiot katuv kan, liboy nami mumchem, ve'i kasavar ein eruv parshiot katuv kan, shlosha lamali, le'olam kasavar iruv parshiot katuv kan uvadin hu, the liboy nami mumchem, Hi, the law ba'inan mumchem mishum de Rabbi Chanina, the Amar Rabbi Chanina. Shneim ar mishpat echad yihya lachem. Mata amru dine mamonot lo ba'inan drisha v'chakira k'dei shelo tin ol delad b'fnei lavan.
You know, it might be helpful. Do you want to just like say you step outside? Like it might be helpful just to go through it outside for just talk the whole thing out.
Okay, let's talk the whole thing out. Let's say outside.
Hi, RJ. Good to see you. Okay, now there's pressure that RJ's here, so we have to get this right. Okay, so let's. So it says, so obviously, the original question here is, why do we need to add the Gzelos and Chavilos? Why can't we just do Dinim Amanos? So Rabbi Vo explains that basically it's simply explaining what Dinim Amanos is referring to. Because if we only said Dinim Amanos, you would have thought it's all inclusive, right? Dinim Amanos. So therefore, it had to also say Gazelos and Chavelos. And if it only said Gazelos and Chavelos, you would have said,
no, he hold on. It didn't just say Dine Mamonot because it needed to exclude Halvaot.
Correct.
Right, Vehodot. Okay.
Correct. Right. But if it just said Dine Mamonos, that's the first line, right? If it just would have said Dine Mamonos, you would have thought it includes also loan disputes, right? And if it just said Gzelos and Chavilos, you would have said maybe it also applies to Hadot.
You would still think it applies to Hodot. Right. And the only reason that it says Gezelot is because that's how we learned it out.
Correct. Exactly. Okay. Great. And then the next line is ulamai, right? How do we know that we don't need? So how do we know we don't need three, right? But because we know that Rav Avo says, so everything's a Rav Avo here. We know Rav Avo himself says that when two people do a case, right, you can't. It's not actually considered a good judgment. So we see you can't do three.
Right.
Sorry, you can't do two. So really, so the answer is that what the Mishnah means is that the reason why Halvos is not included is because we're not including Mumchim. Right?
We don't require mumchim.
We don't require mumchim. Correct. We don't require mumchim. So then the Gemara goes back and forth on that. Well, because we know there's something called about Erev Parshios, right? So if you believe in Erev Parshios, then you for sure do need mumchim, right? If you don't believe in Erev Parshios, then you don't even need what is it? Then you don't even need three at all. Right, so we're back to confusion here, right? Because meaning the Gemara is getting to the source of loan dispute judges, right? So if you believe in Erev Parshios, then you definitely need Mumchim, and then our whole explanation here makes no sense. If you don't need Erev Parshios, then you don't need three at all. So again, we're back to not understanding the opinion here. So then we establish, really, we do need to have mumchim. We do need to have it. And the reason why we don't have it here is because we're more lax with lending, that way to encourage people to lend within their community.
It says, La'olam kasavar Erev Parshiot.
Correct. We do have Erev Parshiot, so you really technically do need mumchim. And the reason why you don't here is because we're lenient in the same way we're lenient that you don't need Drisha and Chakira. You don't need to have those the cross-examination. You also don't need to have mumchim on a case. You don't need to have the certified judge. Right?
The reason we don't require certified judges is because of what Rabbi Hanina taught.
Correct. We're able to make an inference, like in the same way we're less stringent in terms of needing cross-examinations. We're also going to be less stringent that you're not going to need a certified judge. You don't need to have an ordained judge.
So it's really a Takanat Rabbanan.
Correct.
To allow for Hedyot.
Exactly. Right. So then the Gemara asks basically a side question. Essentially, but then what's going to happen is that these judges who are not ordained are going to make mistakes and they're not going to pay, So, wait a second.
Ela mi'ata, but if you're gonna do that, lo yishalmu. Kol sheken sha'ata noel delet bifnei lavin. Right? So, if you allow hedyot, you're also going to cause the same problem, right? Because they won't, the hedyot don't have to pay like a ihachi.
Oh, so I don't think I explained this right when I thought I understood it, but I don't think I understood it correctly actually. Hold on. Wait a second. Everything's absolved.
Ihachi, Rashi says ihachi the hodaot.
No, so this is I think this is undermine. I didn't realize this is undermining everything we've said till now. I didn't realize that. I think
what do you mean?
Because it ruins. So I think. So meaning the Gemara is saying, why don't we need mumchim? We don't need mumchim because of this idea of Rav Chanina about equating that we don't want to equate nefashos and mamanos.
We don't want to make it hard for people to
correct, and therefore you don't need mumchim, right? But then the Gemara says, but if you don't have mumchim, then people are not going to take responsibility to.
No, then people are going to be worried that the hedyots don't have to pay.
Right. So now we're left off. Hold on.
No, I think the maskana of that is that even the hedyot have to pay. So which ends up being the same thing. You ultimately need 3.
And you do need mumchim. That's what I'm trying to understand here. The rest of the version. Or maybe no, maybe it's saying okay, so maybe maybe
I think you could read it either way, but
no, I think okay. I think I don't. Let me read Rashi again. Yeah, it must be saying that they do have to pay. It must be saying that.
I think you could read it either way, but the question, the Gemara's question still holds either way. Let's say you say that hedyot need to pay or they don't need to pay. You're still ending up with 3 in the Beit Din.
Correct.
So since you have 3 in the Beit Din, what's this whole thing that Rabbi Abahu is saying about our Mishnah? Like, our Mishnah is not actually making any sense.
Right, because now he could have explained it differently. He could have said, what was it? He could have said, he could have made it into 2 separate cases. Dini Mamonos b'shlosh hadyotos, right? Dini Mamonos is judged by 3 regular people. Gazelos v'chavelos b'shlosh mumchim. Gazelos v'chavelos is 3 mumchim, right? The whole question doesn't even start if you read it that way. Ode shlosha lamali. Why do I need 3 different? This is your question. Why does I need to say 3 2 different times?
Yeah.
Ella Amarava Tarti Katani Mishum de Rav Chanina Rav Acha Brei de Rav Ika Amar Midaraisa Chad Nami Kosher Shenemar B'Tzedek Tishbat Amisecha Ella Mishum Yoshvei Kronos. What in the world does that mean?
Yoshve Kranot, I believe, refers to you have two at the sides so that it makes people Mishum Chagrin.
No, that maybe like if you allow one, then you're gonna get some I guess some bad apples essentially.
Ein bakin betiv dinin v'yizke et hachaya v'yechav.
Right, he's gonna make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent.
What does the word Yoshve Kranot mean? How does
It literally means like we
how
say
does
we say in like a siyum, like we say I know Yoshu based on Medrash Vehem Yoshu Yoshve Kronos. Like we sit in the study halls and they sit in the like I don't know how you the opposite of the English.
You have the English Art Scroll?
Let me see. I'm looking at it. Let's see.
How do they translate Yoshve Kranot?
Corner dwellers. Art Scroll is very helpful. You know, it gives like the least helpful English word. You know.
No, I mean, I was wondering if it's going to translate it that way.
Yeah, corner dwellers.
Yeah, the people, the Amaratzim, like us.
Oh, I just realized that's a really good like TLC pun, the Yoshve Kronos. Especially considering I told you when it says in the siyum, it literally says we sit in the base medrash and they sit in the corner. So it's like perfect.
Rahman al-Islam.
Perfect.
Now Kolshiken, this is the Jordan Peterson sphere and not TLC.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see what we got here. So really, midaraisa, one judge can actually. Gavin wrote, we should clip it. So really, one judge can take care of the loan disputes, right? Shenemar b'telek tishbat amisecha ela mishum yoshikronos atu. We because of the yoshikronos, we have that we require 3. Okay. So how does that answer anything? How does that answer anything? Oh, so that maybe explains why he didn't want to say that you could have 3. I don't know if I understand what. Let's read Rashi. Midaraisa chanami kasher b'hodava avad dechsev tishbat lashon yachid ve'enir parshiyos kan umasnisan vaday tarti ketani kedamaran umiush shlosha badas vaz la midaraisa ela midarabanan. Oh, okay, got it. So the Mishnah is talking about cases that are daraisa need 3, and Ravo thinks you only need 1 midaraisa. That's what's going on here.
So the 2 that aren't specified, those you need 3 midarabanan.
But Mishnah Gazelas Bechalos, it's daraisa 3, but right. For loan disputes, it's only daraisa 1. Right. So that makes sense why he doesn't split it up. So then the Gemara continues, Atu betlasa milo havi yoshvi kranos. But now I don't know if the Gemara is going to get. I don't know if maybe the Gemara is satisfied at this point, and now it's getting into a technicality here of. No,
it's still talking about the yoshvi
right, but so it's saying you're concerned that if you pick one guy off the street, he might be ignorant. But shouldn't you also be concerned with 3 people? Like, why does 3? Is it just an odds game? That's
that if you. Oh, that if you have one hedyot, like you could have one hedyot, one corner dweller, do the din.
No. So the Daraisa, you're allowed to have one person who's an expert to do, or I don't know, expert, but some level of competence where he's able to judge the case.
Okay.
But the reason why we don't do that, even though with their I say it's okay, is because they're concerned that we're just going to get someone who's not qualified at all. Therefore, we have three. So then the Gemara says, but what if all three are unqualified, basically? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Gemara answers, EF the less behuchad the gomer. There's not, it's impossible that you're going to find three people that don't have their act together on this. Elamiyata tolo yishalmu. But again, back to the same issue. If they're not ordained judges, then
you're going to get amaratzim.
No, if they make a mistake, they won't need to pay, right? Kol shekein d'ishvishi yoshvei kronos. Oh, and then
feel like we have to.
Got it. What'd you say?
I almost feel like I have to map out the whatchamacallit, the Gemara.
Yeah, because it's brutal.
This is a sugya within sugya within sugya. Like it's going really deep.
Yeah. So meaning now it's saying that basically if you basically we're going to have to make the people pay, the judges, because if we don't, then every judge, meaning you have to have some kind of liability. If you're concerned about people getting picked off the street who don't actually have the knowledge to do it, there has to be some kind of level of consequence that we're instituting to make sure that they are paying if they adjudicate improperly. But we can continue this next time. It's getting complicated for sure.
It's getting complicated. It is very complicated. And the next part is comparing and contrasting the two the two shitot in the Gemara.
Right. Well, next time we'll start. We'll do the same thing next time. We'll start from the beginning. Like we'll go through
Gemara,
it. Yeah. And each time we'll get a little bit easier, hopefully.
If we chazer it enough times, maybe one day we'll remember it.
For sure. No, that's the key. For me, I find if you say it outside, that really helps to like go through it. Even just now, and I've done this already 3 or 4 times with you, I still can't say the Gemara outside yet. It's still.
I can't. Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna
end the stream.
Awesome.